Hello, YouTubers, diecast collectors. It's Jared, the J-Man 63. Today I have a controversial topic that a lot of people that I always talk about on Facebook that I'm always getting up people about. Let me adjust the camera just a tad lower there. There we go. I want to talk about resin diecast. What I think resin's good for, what I think it's not good for, what I like about diecast, what I don't always like in diecast. I don't like the diecast series figures very much. I like resin when it's used for movable figures. I don't, however, like paying upwards of $100 something for a model and it to be basically made out of plastic. I'm not a resin person. I don't like GT Spirit. I don't like that Acme is now getting into resin. Of course, you know how much I generally go out of my way to avoid resin. Nothing in my house, basically, I think is plastic except for the Hallmark ornaments that I collect. That's about the only thing that I really got on my way to collect that's plastic and maybe considered resin. But I, as a whole, actually, I prefer that Hallmark do make their ornaments in die cast, honestly, because they do some. What really upsets me is they'll do some in resin, they'll sprinkle a few little die cast in there. I don't like that Hallmark sometimes does the 50-50 mix with their resin and die cast and their ornaments. I'm not a resin fan, as you can tell by diecast. This is not going to be a very kind view of resin. I think resin is trash when it comes to the model industry, especially. Yes, I get that a few parts with diecast need to be plastic, but in my opinion, my penny saved by the heaviest piece I have and by far the most expensive piece that they don't make anymore, that's discontinued, is not primarily plastic. A lot of it is metal. A lot of it is heavy. A lot of people are going to really hate on me for saying that I dislike resin. I don't. Because resin, I've seen what happens to it with some age. And if you just touch it, stuff starts breaking. I'm not a fan of resin because you can't easily handle a resin model. You notice I've got very heavy ham fingers. And if I accidentally touch something the wrong way on a resin model, I'm going to easily break that thing. I've noticed people will spend upwards of literally hundreds of dollars on a resin piece. I don't know if I've ever talked about the resin thing before, but I absolutely hate what it's done. Everything doesn't open on it. I don't want to pay $200 for a fronty art or whatever art. Auto art, especially now that they're doing the same thing. I'm actually, in my opinion, we always paid for auto art to get the high quality die cast models that auto art produced. I never collected many auto arts, but the fact that the new Dodge Demon casting and a lot of others the like are being made, especially what really upset me was I just looked on Acme's page. In fact, let me look right now and see what's going on with Acme. I never liked GT Spirit either. I mean, I've always thought their stuff was trash, especially the fact that we're getting a lot of the new Mustangs now. Auto World seems to be the only company that's following a focus to commitment. Auto World still, for some reason, as much as I like Auto World, as much as I like Greenlight, and as much as I like Acme, Greenlight and Acme are not the separate company. Auto World and Greenlight, I like both. They're both kind of neck and neck. The thing that separates Auto World and Greenlight and Acme all under the same umbrella, which they have a lot of companies which they're underneath. If you know, Acme is a distributor of a lot of different die casts. They distribute the Greenlight, if you don't know this by now. But they also distribute a few companies that I think are trash. They distribute GT Spirit. I don't think they. Let me go on the site. Let me see what. Let me check out their site because I haven't actually looked in a while. So Acme is a distributor. If you know your 1/18th scale, they generally distribute a lot of different brands. Now, I will say Acme does offer a lot of nice models. They're getting ready to do the wing sprint cars, which is kind of cool. That's something different. But I'm looking through their extensive product line. They offer a ton of 1/18th accessories. They offer 1/64 scales. They offer dragsters. They offer Formula 5000 racing. They offer hot rods. So if you know Acme, you know this company as a whole. But however, Acme is a good company with most of their stuff. Most of what they've got green light underneath their umbrella. They have vans. They have authentic models, which I don't know about much. I haven't heard. GT Spirit is one I don't like. They have Kyosho underneath their umbrella, which Kyosho is kind of, I don't know. They have Matrix. I didn't realize they had so many. They have Shelby Collectibles, apparently, from what I'm looking at here. But what I think about Acme is they do have a lot of brands that are good. Some are good. They have Top Speed, which I'm not a big fan of. Techno Model, which I'm not big on. So they're a big distributor. Like, they're huge. Like, if you don't know Acme, well, you might know some of their separate subsidiaries, but if you don't know what Acme is, you probably aren't as serious of a collector as some are out there. No offense to anybody. I see you, Sprinkle Tooth. Hello. Saying hi back to you. But if you don't know Acme, you may want to get to know them because that's when, once you find out about their site and you find out what I found out, that I didn't know how much stuff they actually distributed. I didn't know they were the primary distributor for Greenlight underneath their umbrella, and they grew to take them in. Now, I'm going to get to this because this is going to drive me insane if I don't talk about it. Acme really has crapped up a lot of their stuff with resin, and not to say that Auto World has stayed true, but Auto World keeps their plastic models generally. And what are you talking about? Collecting what? Well, I'm talking about, this is kind of a rant. I see there. Generally, I'm talking about resin versus die cast. Now, in my opinion, I've always been more of a die cast person. Now, Acme distributes a lot of these, and in my opinion, I definitely take Auto World's side on staying true to the die cast thing. And generally, this is just a topic discussion about how I feel about how resin is starting to change things. What is resin and die cast? Well, to give you an education, die cast is a zinc metal process, and they actually cast separate metals into a mold, a tooling of sorts. Now, resin has kind of been taking over. Now, resin has some good properties about it. I think it is good for making figurines and stuff like that. 3D printing is a good way of doing resin. But I think resin has its good sides and bad sides. I don't like that a lot of die cast companies are using resin as an excuse to not include any opening features on their models. Now, that being said, opening features are not everything that make a model. I do collect figures sometimes, but that's not the point. What I'm saying is I would rather have some opening features when I collect a model. Now, figures, again, are another thing with moving parts and stuff. That's just depends on what kind of figures I like. I'm into the McFarlane, the NECA figures, that kind of type thing. But this whole thing is more about die-cast models as a whole, because that's what my channel primarily focuses on if you're just tuning in. Now, I personally think that resin has cheapened things. It's made certain aspects of the toy hobby better, but again, the new Dodge Demon is a nice casting. I won't lie. Auto World has come out with. Now, Auto World is their own separate company, I believe. I don't think they're underneath Acme. But I personally think that Auto World could probably do without, or yeah, Auto World or Auto Art. Sorry, Art. Auto Art needs to. I wish they weren't doing resin, but I'm not really a big resin person. I never have been. Everything in my collection, except for my figures and Hallmark ornaments, again, are not exactly all. I mean, there's a few things that are plastic here and there, but I'm not really a big uh, plastic person when it comes to the collecting cars in general. I do prefer the metal stuff that comes out. It's just, to me, in my opinion, with resin, it's like buying a giant Hot Wheel. Hot Wheels have kind of become primarily plastic now with most of what they've done, and they've lessened the parts on their castings, unfortunately. And in my opinion, if I'm going to pay $100 something for a glorified Hot Wheel, I really do not want to start collecting resin. Now, I am not a fan. I'll be completely honest. I have seen better from companies. And in my opinion, if you're going to get something shipped in resin, I have seen disasters from shipments being brought in. I've seen spoilers broken. I've seen parts broken. And in my opinion, if I pick up a resin model 1/18 scale, that big to that big, and I'm handling something like that, something is more prone to breaking off. And I find it very cheapening of the hobby. I find it to it really does make certain things more accessible, though. There are certain cars, new toolings that makes cheaper, but I have never been a fan. When they did the Joe Dirt car in 1/18 scale, that was a car that at first that I wanted until I found out what it was truly made out of. Even the 1/18 scale Paul Walker Nissan Skyline with the opening doors and the working underglow. I had my I really had I have my doubts about getting that 1/18 still. I might get it. I might not. I don't know yet. But in my opinion, take it as it is or don't. But I'm not a big plastic resin person. If I'm going to buy a model, I want it to have some weight to it, generally, especially with the Bigfoot model that I got. Um, I was very happy with that model, and that was probably going to be the last really great green light casting that's going to be made, unfortunately. That Bigfoot one, I'm talking about Bob Chandler's truck. If you saw the review of it, that Bigfoot one truly was the 1/18 scale that Greenlight did really well. I haven't seen many castings for that $120 price point that have really impressed me the way that Bigfoot one actually had, and it was pretty cool. So if you haven't seen the Bigfoot one review, go check that out in my playlist. Thought it was a very good casting, honestly, and I thought they did a very good job. It was excellent. There's very few green light castings I have seen that have really broken the mold in 1/18 that are just part of green light itself. Never mind the fact that it's not a GMP piece. You know, green light usually really cuts corners sometimes. The two that I found really good that really kind of surprised me were the Fall Guy truck and the Bigfoot. Now, a lot of people have gotten up my butt about that Fall Guy truck review. Personally, I'm sorry about what I said. Yes, I said some negative things. That was actually a very good casting now that I look back on that video. They did a pretty good job with that Fall Guy truck. They also did a good job with Bigfoot, honestly. So, two trucks worth getting would be Bigfoot and the Fall Guy, for sure. I also have the Sanford and Son truck, so I have some really cool ones that probably will be coming up for review. I should get out my Eleanor and review that, and those aren't going to be as detailed, but those are going to be pretty cool. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on resin and die cast. But the good part is maybe we will see more opening features. But again, unless they're going to include enough opening features and make it so where it won't fall apart on me when I'm touching it or playing, not really playing with it, but just opening random parts. That's just my opinion, and I hope Highway 61 doesn't do that, because the companies that are underneath the Acme umbrella should be definitely sticking to their roots. I understand if Acme does it as a whole, but I don't want them to cheapen things up. Anyway, that's just my whole deal on resin and die cast. Just my random thoughts. Anyway, check out the J-Man 63 for more. See y'all later. Bye-bye.